What if the regular salt in your food was a silent cause of illness? If you consume it every day and it gradually raises your blood pressure, in this video, I'll show you why salt, specifically the sodium in salt, is essential for life. But on the other hand, it can also become a real health risk. I'll explain how it affects the cardiovascular system, how it works in the body, and at the end, I'll tell you which salt is truly the best salt. Is it sea salt, rock salt, iodized salt, or pink Himalayan salt? And what should you absolutely pay attention to when it comes to quality? We'll clear that up in a moment, so make sure to stay tuned until the end. Let's start with the basics. What does sodium actually do in our body? Sodium is an essential mineral that is mainly found outside the cells in what's called the extracellular space. And there, it performs several important functions. First, sodium binds water, so wherever sodium is, water follows. And that's exactly what's crucial for the pressure difference between the cells and their surroundings, meaning for our body's overall water balance. Second, sodium is partly responsible for the excitability of nerve cells. It actually helps transmit impulses. Without sodium, our nerves wouldn't really be able to fire properly. Third, our muscles, especially the heart muscle, also need sodium in order to contract. Only with the right amount of sodium can healthy muscle tone be maintained. Fourth, sodium is involved in the acid-base balance, more precisely through the so-called sodium bicarbonate buffer, which ensures that the pH value in the blood remains stable. And then there's a particularly fascinating system, namely the sodium-potassium pump, also known as sodium-potassium ATPase. This enzyme is located in the cell membrane, that is, in the cell membrane of each of our trillions of cells. And it ensures that 3 sodium ions are transported out of the cell, while at the same time 2 potassium ions are transported into the cell. And this creates an electrical potential, the so-called membrane potential. And that's exactly what we need for nerve and muscle excitability to take place. So this pump is crucial for the functioning of our entire nervous system as well as our muscles. And now it gets critical. But if we take in too much sodium, the concentration in the blood increases. And then the following happens. The sodium attracts water. We just heard about that. And it draws water out of the cells to balance the concentration again. The cells actually shrink in some way, and the tissue as a whole loses its firmness. And of course, it works the other way around as well. When the sodium level in the blood drops, water flows into the cells, which can lead to swelling. And this delicate balance is extremely important. The whole process is controlled by 2 hormones. Just so that you've heard of it at some point, they are aldosterone and ADH. Aldosterone ensures that sodium is retained in the kidneys, and with it, water is also retained, while at the same time, more potassium is excreted. This way, the balance in the body always stays in equilibrium, provided we don't completely mess it up with our diet. And the second hormone, ADH, is the so-called antidiuretic hormone, which is produced in the brain. And the reabsorption in the kidneys stops. It helps to retain water when the body is no longer dehydrated, which in turn dilutes the sodium level in the blood. And now you might be asking yourself, why is salt dangerous then? It's simple. If you consume too much sodium over a long period, too much water is also retained in your blood. And that increases the blood volume and, of course, the pressure in your vessels. Especially in so-called salt-sensitive people, this can directly lead to high blood pressure. And studies show that about half of all people with high blood pressure are sensitive to high amounts of salt. And now potassium comes into play. That's actually the natural counterpart to sodium. Potassium ensures that water is transported out of the vascular system. It relaxes the vessel walls, has a blood pressure lowering effect, and supports normal, healthy cellular metabolism. A potassium-rich diet is therefore essential, with foods like bananas, spinach, legumes, avocados, or potatoes. If you want to gently lower your blood pressure, you can also use so-called low-sodium salt. In this process, part of the sodium in the salt, which is sodium chloride, is replaced by potassium. This creates potassium chloride. It's also interesting what often happens during fasting or diets, always during fasting and quite often during diets as well. When you eat less, you mainly lose water in the first few days, so it's not fat. And with this water, you automatically lose salt as well. And that can be the reason why, for people with high blood pressure, their blood pressure often noticeably normalizes during fasting periods. I've seen this so often with my patients who achieved completely normal blood pressure during fasting periods. And of course, we had to adjust their medication accordingly. So if you are a patient with high blood pressure and you want to fast, please discuss it with your doctor beforehand so that your blood pressure doesn't drop too low and you don't end up feeling completely exhausted. Because actually, fasting periods can mean that you have peaks of energy, at least after the third day. I just wanted to mention that. Let's continue. Salt has a direct impact on your circulation. And now to the big question. Which salt is actually the right one? And there are actually big differences. Regular refined table salt consists almost entirely of pure sodium chloride without significant minerals, but often contains anti-caking agents and sometimes added iodine. It's not ideal for people with thyroid conditions. People who have a thyroid condition know that they sometimes need to be careful with this, but there are also conditions where you need iodine, so it's not that simple. Please discuss this with your doctor. And then there's sea salt. It actually sounds really good and natural at first. But unfortunately, nowadays, it often already contains microplastics, depending on where it comes from. Yes, and now to Himalayan salt. It looks so beautiful. It contains traces of minerals. It's also unrefined, but I find it very expensive and not ideal ecologically because it has to travel a very long way to get here. And that's why my recommendation is definitely a high-quality natural rock salt, unrefined and free from additives, from a reliable source. It also contains small amounts of calcium, magnesium, and trace elements, and you get what you need without putting extra strain on your body. Yes, and how much of it is actually healthy? The official recommendation is no more than 5 or maybe 6 grams of salt per day, and that's about 1 teaspoon. So if you eat fresh, plant-based, potassium-rich, and are mindful of your salt intake, you'll do just fine. The conclusion from this is salt is not fundamentally bad. It's actually essential for life. But the amount and the quality are what matter. So choose a good pure rock salt. Combine it with plenty of potassium from natural foods and your body will thank you for it. And also take a look, if you are a blood pressure patient, at what might happen to your blood pressure if you reduce salt and change your diet. A lot of people add salt, whether they've tasted it beforehand or not. And it's too much. More than 5 to 6 grams of salt is simply too much. Very few people know that. And salt can do a lot of harm in the body. That's why you should share this video, because everyone should know about it. And if you share this, you will be thanked for it.